Every time you want to play online, you hit that start button, and an algorithm called Matchmaking begins searching for the perfect club. You probably think Matchmaking only considers things like connection quality, location, or maybe some level of skill. But what if I told you behind all that, a new kind of system has been born? One capable of creating lobbies with one objective, making you behave in a specific way. But how did we end up here? When the first online multiplayer games were born, legend says that dinosaurs were the first creatures to experience them, and they were torn between two things: playing the game or protecting themselves from a maniac called Turok. Don't look at me, I don't credit the legends. Online multiplayer back then was completely different from today. You had to join a server to play with other people. Servers work well for small player communities, but they also had their drawbacks. For example, if you join a hardcore server, you were cooked. You were about to be traumatized by all the horrible things you were going to experience. If you join an Asia server, you were going to be laggy as hell. And if the game had a big player community, finding the right server was even harder, and you could waste a lot of precious time on the server menu. And back then, social media wasn't even a thing, so you couldn't pull the legendary move of scrolling through TikTok while searching. Developers paid attention to these kind of problems and came up with a solution: a new system to help players find the perfect session with fair teams and low latency, and all that in the quickest way possible. All positives. Almost like that time you thought having a girlfriend was perfect until you found out where all your money was going. And if you think about it, it was a natural step for the video game industry, almost as natural as a baby crawling. The first matchmaking were created, and they promised to be the ultimate solution to all these problems. But they were also the beginning of a whole new era in gaming. And that era is getting darker and darker, like the South Park difficulty selection. One of the pioneers of matchmaking was Xbox, with Xbox Live. With the whole internet revolution happening on their console, they also wanted to improve online multiplayer. Logically, they wanted the whole industry to advance in every single aspect. But how did they create the system from scratch? Well, the truth is, they didn't. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they pay attention to other ranking systems. Not in gaming, not in sports, not even in pig races. They pay attention to chess. And before some dumb one tells me chess is a sport, there isn't a chess piece right here, is there? A picture is worth 1,000 words. Anyway, in chess there's a thing called ELO, which is basically a ranking system for players. And obviously this isn't a math class, so I'm going to explain ELO to you in the simplest way possible. You have a score, and if you beat someone much higher than you, you gain a lot of points, while the person loses a lot, though not necessarily the same amount you gain. And if you beat someone close to your level, you don't get that many points, but you still get some. So they took inspiration from that system and adapted to team multiplayer games like Halo. The first important matchmaking system was TrueSkill. Basically, instead of considering just one number for playing skill, it introduced another variable called uncertainty. The more a person plays, the less uncertainty there is about how that person is going to perform in a match. This matchmaking system assigns a score based on wins, losses, or draws, and combine that with the uncertainty level. That results in a range. Instead of saying you were 25 out of 100, it says you were somewhere between 20 and 30. Based on that, it formed the teams. It evaluated the whole team's score and tried to find another similar team. So Xbox actually did it. They created one of the first good matchmaking systems. Not good enough to work perfectly all the time, but good enough to keep that random element in matches. I don't see anything wrong with this basic matchmaking system. Nobody wants to get destroyed by someone who doesn't even have a job. Whether it's someone who lives off playing or someone who isn't even old enough to start working. It's unbelievable how some kids are like Rainbow in multiplayer games. TrueSkill was the main matchmaking system in the 360 era. Those mythical BO2 nights, Halo nights, Gear nights, they were all possible because of this kind of matchmaking. And this kind of matchmaking wasn't even exclusive to Xbox. It was becoming the industry standard. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, it had problems. Like the limited number of variables it's considered when assigning a skill score. Because, like I told you, it only considers win, losses, and draws. I mean, you're telling me my skill as a player is only determined whether I win or lose? What about that quad feed with a sniper? What about that flag defense against the entire enemy team? Are you telling me he's gonna have the same score as me? That's not fair. And that's not all. Besides all the elements it didn't consider, TrueSkill only worked well in team matches or 1v1 matches, not free for all. So basically, it was only the beginning of something bigger. To be honest with you, I never heard a single complaint about this era of matchmaking. In fact, this was like the golden era of multiplayer games. Ask anybody older than 16 And they're gonna tell you the peak of multiplayer games was this era. But everything started changing around 2018 with newer matchmaking systems. What do you think the evolution of a TrueSkill was called? The Sane Matcher? The Spartan Finder? No. It was actually TrueSkill 2. The whole game industry seemed to think that the fairer a match was, the more people would enjoy it. And this is where everyone started having different opinions and perspectives. But we're gonna talk about that in a moment. A company wanted its game to be popular and have a lot of active players. I get that part. But I don't know why they came to the conclusion that the fairness equals engagement, and that the closer you get to perfect fairness, the better it is for the game. That's a pretty hard assumption to set, at least for me. Let's think about it. The whole point of turning on your console is basically to entertain yourself. A video game is not a professional activity where I want to get better and better, always pushing my limit to reach unimaginable levels of gaming. No, that's called rank mode. But the problem is that this new kind of matchmaking was applied to the majority of modes in a lot of video games, not exclusively to rank modes. But before you hear my point of view, let me explain the upgrades in this new skill-based matchmaking. The difference between TrueSkill 1 and TrueSkill 2, well, basically TrueSkill 2 is a lot more complex. When I say a lot, I mean a freaking lot. Let's say the older matchmaking models were basic mathematical operation with fewer variables. But now, this new matchmaking model uses a lot more variables, and in addition to complex mathematical algorithm to get a better result. Let's say TrueSkill 1 was like a 10-year-old, and now TrueSkill 2 is the same guy but at university level. And this kind of matchmaking also evolves with the community behavior, and all that in the name of fairness. Skill-based matchmaking has some implications that impacts you. Yes, you, the average player, and maybe you haven't realized it yet. It's like the whole system is based on the wrong premise. From experience, I can tell you that fairness is not the same as fun, and doesn't always mean more time playing a game. But I'm completely aware that not everyone shares the same opinion as me. So I'll be glad to read your thoughts in the comment section. With the skill-based matchmaking, you're gonna have longer queues. Think about it. Look at all the variables this system considers when finding a match. Have you ever heard that at that precise moment, there are around 7 people almost identical to you? Well, the skill-based matchmaking is going to find all of them to create the perfect lobby. As you can imagine, the stricter the skill-based matchmaking, the longer the wait. And some of us really don't like to having to use our phones mid-game, because that would be a declaration of how rotten our brain is. If you continue playing a game with skill-based matchmaking, sooner or later, you're gonna find hell. I'm not saying you're gonna end up in the same place as Dante, not this one, but this one. You're gonna reach the point where you can't dominate a single match. It might be good for some people and bad for others. If I play a MOBA game, I want a similar skill level on my team. I don't want a random teammate gifting levels to the enemy team. But if I'm playing a shooter, I want diversity out. I don't want to swear in every single public match, you know what I mean. Sometimes people want to play differently, and if your average stats are in a certain level, you're gonna play against that level, not against chill people having a good time. That makes it almost impossible to change how you play. And that, my friend, is hell. The point where you have to play seriously in order to not be pulverized by the enemy team. What if I told you that skill-based matchmaking is in the past, and today a new kind of matchmaking is being developed, and this one could be either a very positive thing or the end of multiplayer games. The subtle difference depends on what the company sets as the objective. Yep, I don't have much help in them either. Somehow, the industry is finally connecting the dots and discovering that strict fairness is not proportional to engagement and player satisfaction. Let me introduce you to Engagement-Optimized Matchmaking. Either the end or a new beginning for multiplayer. This matchmaking system is complex, really complex. Remember when I told you skill-based matchmaking was like somewhat at the university level? Well, this is the same guy, but with 30 freaking years of work experience. As you can see, he's already bald. In this new model, fairness is not the objective, engagement is. Now, the problem is, what do companies consider engagement? This kind of matchmaking, in broad strokes, it's personalized for individuals. It learns from your play patterns. It considers even more things than the skill-based matchmaking, such as the time of day you play, your average session length, and I'm not exaggerating, all kind of metrics about you. With the Engagement-Optimized Matchmaking, they have all the data they need to map you inside the system and create the conditions for you to behave in a certain way. So if they want you to play more, they'll adapt your matchmaking experience based on data. With this kind of matchmaking, the possibilities are endless, literally. Imagine you're not an addict to a video game, and you only keep playing if you're performing well. If you play badly in one game, you quit. Well, with that player behavior, if this kind of matchmaking is configured to maximize engagement, it'll train itself to avoid hardcore lobbies for you. Or if you only feel good when you have a challenge in front of you and you quit when matches get too easy, it'll also be trained to offer you that kind of match. Now, this matchmaking system has serious concerns. The first one is that it's very manipulative. Let's say you have a certain dependency on the game you're playing. You're literally cooked, my friend. You're literally gonna become their prisoner. And I get it, games can have a lot of manipulative elements that use psychological tricks against you, but I'm just about to tell you the worst part. Engagement can mean any metric: playtime per day, the risk percentage of you quitting for a period of time, or money spent in the game. Just imagine a game with the final objective of maximizing money spent in the store. They say the whole matchmaking system to manipulate you into spending money. Remember, it wouldn't be engagement anymore, it would be money-optimized matchmaking. This is heavy because we as players don't know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe right now you're being manipulated, maybe not. Who knows? The potential of this kind of matchmaking is huge. It can be used in a good way, but also in a really messed up way. And now do you get why I say it could be the end or a new beginning for multiplayer games? Here are some real examples of what's possible with this new kind of power. It really can create a hyper-personalized game experience that could be positive for the player base, but it could also create the opposite. And we, as consumers, need to make sure they're not using it for the moral purpose of draining your wallet. And what intrigues me the most is the next level. Just in my engagement-optimized matchmaking combined with AI. Literally, with all the data they have about us as players, they'll be able to do whatever they want with us. We don't know where or when this is happening. There's no real way to know for sure unless a company admits it. And that's my biggest concern. How can we defend ourselves as consumers when the system is hiding from us? Video games are the greatest hobby in the world, but they're not perfect. This industry hides a lot of dark stuff, and matchmaking might only be one piece of it. If you're interested in discovering the dark side of gaming, subscribe and I'll see you next time.